So I heard about this army general who went for a special meeting in Washington. Once he was at the meeting, he called his base, and there was a young private who answered the phone, and the general said, good morning. I would like you to give me a detailed inventory of everything we have at the base. And the private, he never had to deal with these things before, so he thought his buddies was playing a prank on him. And he says to the general, sure, we have 200 rifles, 200 guns, we have 30 tanks, and we have 2 SUVs to drive around these lazy generals. The general was furious. I said, Private, do you know who I am? I am the general of the base. Now the private started to panic. And then the private said, but do you know who I am? And the general said, no, thank God. He hung up. I want to talk to you today about an inventory of goodness. An inventory of goodness. Actually, that's the name of this parsha, Parsha Pekudei. It's basically one of the translation of Pekudei is inventory. Because at the beginning of the parsha, you will see that what happened is there is a recount of everything they had, all the materials they had to build the tabernacle. And this is something very important, because if they didn't have anything that they needed, then they have a problem. They wouldn't be able to complete this amazing tabernacle. And then if the tabernacle wasn't ready, in the words of the Torah, then the presence of God wouldn't be able to find the place to rest upon. So this is something very important. The inventory was extremely important to be sure that they had everything they needed. And if there is something still lacking, they will have the opportunity to get it, so they will be able to complete this place for God. And the interesting thing is that there is a long list of materials listed in this parsha. Of course, we always notice the first one, when it said, it's talking about gold, it's talking about silver, it's talking about copper. But there were many other things. There were fabrics, there were leathers, there were vessels, there were many things that they were brought so they would complete this tabernacle. But who brought what? Well, it was very simple. Everybody brought what they had. People who had gold, they brought gold. People who had silver, they brought silver. People who had copper, they brought copper. And the thing is, well, if everybody brought what they had, how come they need to do the inventory to see if they had everything they needed? Well, but because the problem is, what if the person who had the gold, and that gold was sent, was given by God to this person, so this person could bring it to the sanctuary. Now this person decides not to bring it. The person with the silver decides, no, I like the silver too much, so I won't give it. The person with the copper said, no, this is mine. I won't give it. And if that happened, then there will be missing elements. So the tabernacle will never be able to be completed, so the presence of God will never be able to find the place to rest. And this is something very interesting, because sometimes I think, in fact, this is something that my wife and I, we were talking last night over the Shabbat dinner. We were thinking, what can we do to help other people? What can we do to help the world? What can we do to help our friends? And then, we always have this feeling that there is always something that we can give more, but then I realize that you give and you help with what we have. You cannot give what you don't have. So what we started to do is a very interesting exercise. We started to make an inventory of what we have. And I'm not talking about material things. Things that we can offer other people. So we went through that exercise to make a little inventory of what we can do to help others. And I'm saying this in many different aspects of our lives. What can you do to help the Ukrainian community? What can you do to help your friends that they are going through some challenges? What can you do to help your family? What can you do to help your community? And then I realized this is something that we can all do. We can actually create an inventory of everything we have so we can give it to others. But then I realized that the world is like the tabernacle. The world should be a place that welcomes God. But we realize when we look around that this world is not welcoming God. It's a world that rejects God. Why? Because it's just like the tabernacle. If the person with the right thing does not come forward and contribute towards healing the world, then that task will be always incomplete. And we could never invite God to be a part of this world. You see, there is a beautiful midrash from Midrash Rabbah that it's actually explaining a verse from the Song of Songs. Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 1, that it says, that verse says, I have come into my garden, my beloved, my wife. Of course, he's talking about God. It's an allegory to God. I have come into my garden, my beloved, my wife. And the Midrash Rabbah said, what does it mean? I have come. It's almost like the verse is saying, I came back. And then the Midrash answers that question. And it says, the verse is talking about the Shekinah, the presence of God. The Shekinah was that kind of presence of God that was meant to be with us at our level in this world. But then the Midrash says, Adam, the first human being, sinned, transgressed, didn't give everything that he had towards the world. And then the Shekinah was separating from the world one level. Then Cain came and transgressed. And the Shekinah, the presence of God, was separating from this world two levels. And then the Midrash continued. Then Enosh came, and he was, by the way, Enosh, the Torah, the first person to curse the name of God. Then the Shekinah was away from us, 3 levels. And then came the generation of the flood, 4 levels. And they came the Tower of Babel, 5 levels. And they came Sodom, 6 levels. And they came the Egyptians and Pharaoh, 7 levels. And just like that, as a consequence of human behavior, Shekinah got far away from us. And we felt that vacuum. We felt that disconnection with God. But then the Midrash continues. It said, but then Abraham came. And the Shekinah came 1 step closer to us. Then Isaac came 2 steps closer. Then Jacob came 3 steps closer. Then Levi came 4 levels closer. And then came Kehat, then came Amram, and then came Moses. And finally, the Shekinah came back to be with us at our level. What the Midrash is trying to say and to teach us is, as a consequence of human behavior, we can kick out God from this world, but also through human behavior, we can bring God back to our level. What kind of behavior? Everything that we learn from Abraham, from Isaac, from Jacob, from Moses. We learn about kindness, hospitality, justice, courage. All those virtues that the Torah is trying to teach us. Because they were able to give that to the world, they brought God closer to us. And I believe that we are at a point in history where it is more important than ever that we could make that inventory of our lives and everything that we have to offer, and then to bring it forward. And when you do that to the world, to the community, to your friends, to your family, then you're making the Shekhinah, the presence of God, more present than ever. So my invitation to all of you is to ask yourself, what does the world need? And then ask yourself, do I have something that I can contribute to complete the task of healing the world? And once you know what you have, then, just like the Torah, bring it forward. And then, eventually, just like the Torah, you will see that the presence of God is once again visible and present in the world and in your life. Shabbat Shalom.